Who has never dreamed of discovering the secret to eternal youth? That magical elixir that makes time pass and you continue looking like you haven't even reached middle age. This is the kind of thing that seems to only exist in fairy tales, but there is a corner of the real world where many people swear that it really happens. There, people live to be over 120 years old, hardly ever get sick, and still look young enough to make many people green with envy. Today, Bello Mundo will take you inside this valley and show you what lies behind this supposed paradise of longevity. Number 1. Location and geographical data. First of all, we need to understand where this Hunza Valley is, because it's not the kind of destination you just stumble upon on a map. It's located in the far north of Pakistan, nestled in an area surrounded by some of the most complicated borders in the world. On one side is the so-called Wakhan Corridor, a narrow strip of Afghanistan that acts almost as a connecting strip between several countries, squeezed between Pakistan, China, and Tajikistan. On the other side is the Xinjiang region, a part of China where the Uyghur people live, who are of Turkic Mongolian origin and have a culture very different from the rest of China. To complete the picture, the valley is also right in the middle of two of the largest mountain ranges on the planet, the Himalayas and the Karakoram. It is in this mountainous corridor that the Hunza River winds its way, forming the valley of the same name. Just to give you an idea of the altitude, the valley floor starts at around 2,500 meters. From there upwards, the mountains rise to over 7,000 meters, such as Rakaposhi and Ultar Sar, which form the surreal landscape of the region. The valley is divided into three areas. Up above, almost on the border with China, is Upper Hunza, or Gojal. In the middle is Central Hunza, with villages such as Karimabad. And below is Lower Hunza, or Shinaki. All of them have that postcard look, snow-capped mountains, terraced plantations, and villages that seem frozen in time. The climate varies greatly. In winter, the temperature easily drops below -20 degrees. In summer, it can exceed 30 degrees during the day, but cools down at night. Between June and August, the monsoons bring a little more rain, keeping the crops green and the glaciers fed. In the midst of all this, the air remains pure, the sky is always blue, and pollution is virtually non-existent. It is one of those places where nature itself seems to have made a deal with time to move at a different pace from the rest of the world. Number 2. History. Before becoming this famous place, the Hunza Valley already had an ancient history. For almost 900 years, the place was a small, isolated kingdom, ruled by the Mir, who were the local leaders and controlled both the land and the families scattered throughout the mountains. As it was located in the middle of ancient trade routes, the valley has always been a crossing point for merchants and travelers crossing Central Asia on their way to the south of the continent. At that time, Buddhism was the dominant religion there. Even today, you can still find traces of this past, such as the inscriptions left by monks on the sacred rock of Hunza, full of symbols carved directly into the stones. Over time, Islam arrived in the region and became the main faith of the inhabitants. Most follow Shiite Islam in the Ismaili branch, and this is where there is an important difference. In traditional Shiism, the faithful believe that the last legitimate imam died centuries ago and that one day he will return. The Ismailis follow a different path. They believe that the imam is still alive and present in the figure of the Aga Khan, who is their spiritual leader to this day. The Aga Khan does not only take care of religious matters, he also leads social projects, establishes schools and hospitals, and organizes initiatives that improve the life of the community, especially in isolated places like Hunza. At the end of the 19th century, the valley ended up in the middle of a larger dispute. While the British Empire and the Russian Empire fought for control of Central Asia, the British invaded Hunza in 1891. The Mir at the time fled to China. In his place, the British installed another Mir who was aligned with their interests. In the end, it was the British who really controlled the region. This situation lasted until 1974, when the Pakistani government dissolved the principality and incorporated Hunza into the country. Even with all these changes, the people of Hunza continued to preserve their culture, language, and way of life, which still attract the attention of visitors to the valley today. Number 3. Places and landscapes. If the Hunza Valley is already impressive for its history, when we talk about the landscape, things become even more surreal. The scenery is like something out of a computer graphic. Gigantic mountains surround everything, with peaks that easily exceed 7,000 meters in height. Among them are Rakaposhi, Ultar Sar, and many others that dominate the horizon at all times. In the middle of these mountains runs the Hunza River, which carves out the valley and feeds local life. Everywhere you look, there are terraced plantations, apricot orchards, cherry trees, apple trees, and fields that climb the slopes like steps carved into the mountain. In addition to the plantations, the valley holds some natural gems that attract even more attention. One of the highlights is Lake Atabad. This lake did not exist until 2010, when a huge landslide blocked the river and formed, out of nowhere, a turquoise lake over 20 kilometers long. Today, it has become a postcard of the region. Another impressive spot is the Kunjera Pass, a road that crosses the border between Pakistan and China. This pass is almost 4,700 meters above sea level and is the highest paved border road in the world. Those who reach the top have to face the bitter cold and thin air, but the view is worth the effort. There are also the famous Pasu cones, pointed rock formations that look like giant needles stuck in the mountain. And for those who like adventure, the Husseini Suspension Bridge offers a crossing that challenges even the bravest. It is a rustic bridge with spaced wooden planks and the river running below. In the midst of all this, we still find small villages scattered around, always with the same simple and traditional style. Stone houses, narrow streets, and a tranquility that seems to have been preserved for centuries. Number 4. Population, languages, and religion. Now that you understand where the Hunza Valley is located, know its history, and have seen some of its surreal landscapes, it's time to talk about who really makes the valley what it is: the people of Hunza. Today, about 30,000 people live there. Most belong to an ethnic group called Burushos, or Hunzakuts, as they call themselves. These names may sound different, but ultimately, we are talking about families who have lived there for centuries, maintaining their traditions and customs. Their main language is Burushaski, a very curious language because it is not directly related to any other language in the world. It is a unique language that only exists in that region. Depending on the area of the valley, Wakhi is also spoken, which came from people who migrated from Afghanistan in the 19th century. And in some parts of Lower Hunza, the Shina language is also spoken. Since many people speak different languages, Urdu, which is the national language of Pakistan, serves as a lingua franca for everyone to understand each other. In terms of religion, as we have already explained, most people follow Shia Islam in the Ismailite branch. Faith plays an important role in community life, but at the same time, the way the Ismailis practice their religion is seen as more open and progressive, especially when compared to other regions of Pakistan. Women, for example, have access to education, participate in social and professional life, and are actively encouraged to study and work. The people of Hunza are known for their welcoming, simple, and good-humored nature. Families tend to be close-knit, and there is a strong sense of community. Everyone knows each other, helps each other, and participates in village events. Local festivals usually feature music, dancing, and some traditions inherited from Central Asia, such as polo and even some ancient horse sports, although many of these are becoming increasingly rare. Even with modernization slowly arriving, the people of Hunza still preserve much of this community life, which to many outsiders seems like a life from another time. And now we come to the big question. Do the people of Hunza really live to be over 100 or 120 years old, with enviable health and looking like they've stopped aging? Or is it all just a myth that the world has bought into without really knowing what goes on there? Number 5. The secret of longevity. And here we come to the heart of our story. Do the Hunza really live to be 120 years old? The story of Hunza's longevity began to spread around the world in the early 70s, when National Geographic published a series of reports on several groups that supposedly lived much longer than the rest of the planet. The Hunza Valley was included in this package as one of the most curious examples. At the time, reports began to emerge of elders who easily passed 90, 100, or even 120 years of age, in impressive health. It was said that men in their 90s still had children, women gave birth after 60, and the elderly worked in the fields as if they were young. All of this began to fuel the myth that Hunza was a kind of real fountain of youth. It got to the point where even U.S. President Eisenhower's cardiologist commented on the case, saying that Hunza men could eat 3,000 apricots at once. In 1960, the Journal of the American Medical Association, one of the leading medical journals in the United States, even published an editorial praising the healthy habits of the Hunza people. However, as with almost every story that is too good to be true, the reality is a little more complicated. But let's take it step by step and try to understand what really contributes to the fame of these people. Number 6. The centenarian's diet. Even though much has been exaggerated in this story of longevity, no one disputes that the Hunza diet has always attracted attention. It is one of those points on which almost every researcher who has visited the area agrees. The basis of the diet has always been simple, natural, and produced almost entirely within the valley itself. There are no industrialized products, preservatives, or additives. Everything comes straight from the land, from trees, or from animals they raise themselves. The most symbolic food in Hunza is apricots. And if you ask any local, they will tell you right away that the secret lies in these fruits. But these aren't just any apricots. They are not the ones we find in the supermarket. There, they harvest a smaller, darker variety with a much firmer texture. During the season, they eat the fruit fresh. When winter arrives, they dry the apricots to ensure they have a supply. Not even the pits go to waste. They break the seeds and extract an oil that is also used in cooking. And the reason for this fascination with apricots goes beyond their taste. The fruit is loaded with fiber, vitamins A, C, and E, as well as antioxidants, minerals, and anti-inflammatory compounds. These nutrients help protect the body against premature aging, cardiovascular disease, and even skin problems. The oil extracted from the pits also contains fatty acids that are good for the heart and circulation. In addition to apricots, the diet includes many fruits and vegetables grown right there. Whole grains such as wheat, barley, millet, and buckwheat form the basis of meals. Nuts are also a frequent addition. They consume almost no meat, only on special occasions, and usually from goats, sheep, or yaks raised in the mountains. Another curious point is fasting. At the end of winter and beginning of spring, when food begins to become scarce, they greatly reduce their food intake and spend long periods consuming only small portions of food, lots of glacier water, and herbal teas. This period of scarcity functions almost like a prolonged fast, similar to what many people today call intermittent fasting. The number of calories is also much lower than what most people consume in the rest of the world. While in many places people easily consume over 3,000 calories a day, in the Hunza Valley estimates range from 1,600 to 1,800. All of this comes from fresh, simple, and virtually unprocessed foods. Number 7. Lifestyle and secrets of longevity. But it's not just what they eat that is impressive. The Hunza lifestyle also plays a huge role in their longevity. There, daily life has always involved a lot of physical work. There is no sedentary lifestyle in the Hunza Valley. Crops are all grown on terraces on the mountainsides, which means that people have to climb up and down hills all the time, carrying water, caring for animals, harvesting fruit, planting and plowing the fields. Everything requires daily effort. From children to the elderly, everyone participates in the tasks. And even when they get older, the Hunza remain active. There is no concept of retirement as we know it there. The elderly continue to help as much as they can, adapting their activities to their age, but they never stop completely. It is a routine that keeps the body functioning longer. Altitude also plays a role. Living more than 2,400 meters above sea level makes the body work differently. The cardiovascular system and breathing become more efficient, which can contribute to long-term health. Another point that always draws attention is the environment. The air is clean, with almost no pollution. The villages are small, traffic is minimal, and contact with nature is constant. All of this contributes to the quality of life and, above all, to stress levels, which are much lower than in large cities. Community life also counts for a lot. Families are close, people help each other all the time, and there is a strong sense of belonging. When problems arise, everyone gets involved. This social support makes mental health much better, which ultimately also impacts physical health. Finally, there is the water, which many people believe to be one of the most curious factors. As we have already mentioned, it comes directly from glaciers and contains high levels of natural minerals. Some say that this mineral cocktail contributes to the proper functioning of the body. In the end, there is no secret to what the Hunza people do. They eat well, move around all day, live in a community, have little stress, and breathe clean mountain air. It is that combination of simple factors that, when added together, make all the difference. However, as with almost everything in life, time has taken its toll on the Hunza Valley. Number 8. Modern transformation. With the construction of the Karakoram Highway in the 70s, the valley finally connected with the rest of Pakistan and the world. And along with the road came tourists, commerce, and outside influences. Today, much has changed there. Industrialized products began to arrive, refined sugar became part of many people's diets, soft drinks appeared on store shelves, and little by little, the 100% natural lifestyle began to be replaced by habits more similar to those of large cities. The pace of work itself has also changed. With the arrival of schools, cell phones, the internet, and more urban jobs, not everyone depends on heavy agricultural work anymore. The result was an increase in sedentary lifestyles, something that, until a few decades ago, was practically non-existent there. And with this new routine came some health problems that were previously very rare in the valley. Cases of diabetes, high blood pressure, and cardiovascular disease began to appear more frequently. Today, the average life expectancy there is no longer as impressive as it was in the past. Most people live to be 70 or 80, which is still good, but a far cry from that mystical image of residents easily passing the 100-year mark. That's all for today. What did you find most interesting about the Hunza Valley? The magical apricots, life in harmony with the mountains. Tell us in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, like it, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the bell, because in the next destination, Bello Mundo will take you to another surprising corner of the planet. See you then.